For them, the supplier is confirming to you that they have the goods that you need and that their prevailing selling prices at that time, they will also give to you. So you already know that if we go ahead and tell them to deliver these goods, this is what we expect to pay, and this is the invoice amount. And again, this also confirms to us that they have those goods, that they have those goods that we need, the goods that we need. Now, in that case, then once they deliver the goods, then the store manager will prepare the GRN, the goods received not to acknowledge or to confirm that actually they have received those goods that were supplied, right? So in that case now, at least we have an idea of all the three elements. Now, the question here is for us to prepare a three-way order matching. Now, what do we do to prepare that order matching? What are we supposed to do? What are we comparing for what? Now, this is what is required of you. Now, you'll ask yourself, now, out of all the LPOs or the purchase orders that were raised, this first table shows all the purchase orders that were raised. Just as a sample, they might be many, they might be more than what we have here because what the data we have here is not much. Then you ask yourself, out of all that was raised, did we receive the responses of the invoices that relate to all those orders that were raised? Did we get all the invoices for all the orders that were raised? And then we go ahead and ask ourselves, out of all those purchase orders that were raised, did we receive those goods in respect to those purchase orders? Did we receive the goods out of all the purchase orders? This one applies to a large setup. I want to look at, for example, FMCG sector, where you deal with a wide variety of items and goods. And purchase orders are raised. There are several of them covering the many types of goods they're dealing in. And you want to quickly find out of the purchase orders raised, did we receive invoices for all of them? Then you check and you narrow down the details of the invoices per purchase order. And you ask yourself, did we receive all the goods from our goods received register? Do we have all the goods out of the purchase orders raised? So we are matching, three-way order matching. You see, these are three documents: purchase order, invoice, and goods received. We want to reconcile all the three, and we ask ourselves, now, from the purchase order list, is the invoice, the purchase order number one, this one here, this purchase order number one, did we receive, was it raised? Did we receive invoices for it? And did we also receive the goods for that purchase order number one? We do the same for purchase order number two. We do the same for purchase order number three, all of them, so that we be able to confirm that for each purchase order, there was an invoice and the goods were received as per that order. So we are going to use certain simple Excel functions to help us do that matching. So I want us to do it together because the concept, as I said, is very simple. The only thing you need to do is to just be keen and do it on your own or on your end also as we do it together. Now, this is a concept used in auditing to compare these three sets of data, and it helps to find out if there is any discrepancy. Now, the Excel functions we are going to use, one of them is the VLOOKUP. We are going to use VLOOKUP function. We are going to use VLOOKUP function as one of the very essential functions going to help us do this order matching. Now, VLOOKUP function is a common function which you have interacted with, and you have an idea what it means and how it is applied at various points. So this function, just to mention, allows you to search for a specific value in a table. You can call it a table or a range of data, and it will return to you a corresponding value in the same row as the searched value. The name VLOOKUP just simply stands for vertical lookup. Vertical lookup, VLOOKUP, vertical lookup. So allows you, this one allows you, I just want to type it because you will see, because we are going to apply it. Allows you, I've just said allows you to search. Allows you to search. I'm trying to look for very, very simple language to use here. Allows you to search for a specific value. For a specific value. For a specific value in a table. I've said in a table, or sometimes you can just call it in a range of data, in a table, or range of data, or range of data, and returns to you. And it returns to you a corresponding. It returns to you a corresponding value in the same row, as the searched value, So that is in simple what VLOOKUP function helps you to do or enables you to do. And I've said that this VLOOKUP function simply means vertical, stands for vertical lookup. We know there are two positions, vertical and horizontal. So when we discourage you to be in horizontal position, you already know what horizontal position means. So VLOOKUP is used when the data or the range of data is arranged in a vertical format. Now, whenever you go to any cell on that your Excel sheet or that Excel window, you put an equal sign and you type VLOOKUP. Now, whenever you do that, you'll be required to do certain entries. We can do it together. We can say VLOOKUP. You see the VLOOKUP function is there. When I tab, it already starts asking me the entries I'm supposed to do. You can see lookup value, table array. It asks me about the column index, the number. Then I had mentioned before, and I believe at this point now you are well aware, once you are doing or using any Excel function, within the function itself, anything given in parentheses or in a bracket within the function is not compulsory. So you can see there is a range lookup there given in a bracket towards the end of the entries you are required to do in the function. That section is not compulsory. These others, you have to key in all of them. You have to give it the feeds that it requires. So you need just to understand what are these entries, what the entries mean. What do we mean by the lookup value? What do we mean by the table array? What do we mean by the column index? And what do we mean by the range lookup? The index number and the range lookup, even though I've said the range lookup is not compulsory, but you need to understand what it means. Because when you're using the function, if you select or maybe you pick a wrong entry, you may not be able to get the desired output. Because we can see the definition of a VLOOKUP function, it returns a corresponding value. What does it correspond to? If you choose a wrong data or a wrong value or a wrong entry, you cannot be able to get a corresponding value according to the searched value, what you are looking for. So we need to understand these entries. So I just want us to just briefly understand these entries, because these functions will be very helpful to you, especially in this era of technology. Remember, BDA is a practical paper. Examiners will want to test your practical understanding of Excel, and they will always use them to ask you this. So just to mention quickly, let me just start by the first entry which you've seen there is the lookup value. Lookup value. Lookup value. Let me use the lower dash to present present that entry. Now, what do we mean by the lookup value? That is the first entry you are required to do whenever you're using this function of the VLOOKUP. What does it mean? What entry do you give at that point? Lookup value. Now, Lookup value simply means the value that you want to find in the first column of the table array or the table range of data. It can be a value. Sometimes you may be required to use a cell reference or a formula to get it. You are simply giving directions to Excel what you are really looking up to. So I've just said, this is the value. This is the value you want to find in the first column of the table array. The first value you want to find in the first column of the table array. Table array. So the table array is just the range of data or the range of cells that contains the data you want to search. And in fact, the table array should be the second entry because it was VLOOKUP is equal to VLOOKUP. And when you pick it, yeah, table array was also there. And I've just mentioned what it means. I've said table array is simply the range of cells that contains the data you want to search. So I may not type all of them. But I just want to mention some of them because typing all of them may consume a lot of our time. Maybe we look at the syntax of the VLOOKUP function. So the syntax is what is showing when you key in the function. So its syntax, we've just seen, is just that because we were using it directly as a function, you may not have seen the full concept of it all, but we know that it is VLOOKUP, and we already see that the lookup value is the first entry that will be required to do. Then the second one is table array, like that. After you key in the table array, you will be required to give column index. So I've mentioned what lookup value mean is the first value you want to find. It's the value you want to find. Is the value you want to find in the first column of the table. Like you can call it table array, something like that. And it is not necessarily, it must not be a value. It can be a cell reference or a formula just to let Excel know what you are looking for. It is the value you want to find. Yes. What did I type here? Is the value. It's the value, is the value you want to find. Then the second one is the table array. Table array I've just mentioned, the range of cells that contains the data you want to search. So you are just telling Excel, this is the range of the data where I want you to get me what I'm looking for. Then we come to the next one, column index. Column index is just the column number in the table array that contains the data you want to return. So in most cases, it is the first column in the table. We normally use initial 1, just use number 1. Or sometimes if the data is in column number 2, you just type 2 under the column array. And this thing is best understood when we do it manually. When we do it manually in that function, then we'll be able to get to understand it better. Now, in this coverage of audit, we are going to use this VLOOKUP function, and we're going to see how all those entries come in. And I've told you, after the column index, there is that range lookup, which is given in parentheses. And I just ask what the range lookup mean. Range lookup, I've told you it's not a compulsory entry, but it's good just to understand what it means. So that range lookup, this is an argument, but it's optional, and it will specify whether you want an exact match or an approximate match. So you'll just tell Excel whether you want an exact match or an approximate match. In most cases, our output, we need an exact match. So you will always choose, exact match. Or if you don't key in anything by default, it will give you the exact match. Now, there is another function in Excel we are going to use here, and it is the AND function. The AND function. The AND function will come in handy in also this section of audit. So this is also another logical function, and it will allow you to test whether all the conditions you specify are true. That is where we are going to use the AND function. Then, if you can also go and check the syntax of the AND function, just put an equal sign and right and, you'll see it is a logical function. It asks you a range of logics, logical 1, and then from logical 2, you can see it's given in parentheses. That is a condition. It's a conditional function. And it will give you a response of true if all the conditions are true. And also, if they're not true, it will give you false. So if you look at that syntax, you can see condition 1, condition 2, or logical 1, logical 2, which means these are just conditions that you want to test. You want to test these conditions, whether they're true or they're false. That's what it means there, whether they're true or they're false. Yes? So you just separate the conditions by comma, the usual way we normally do in a function, and then it will give you the response of true or false. The next function that we will use, of course, that is an improvement from the VLOOKUP, is the XLOOKUP function. The XLOOKUP function. This is the latest or an improvement from the VLOOKUP. The XLOOKUP function, XLOOKUP. Now this is it functions the same as VLOOKUP, but it is more improved version. Remember, VLOOKUP only deals with data in a vertical setup or in a vertical format. XLOOKUP now goes a step further, not to only handle data in a vertical format. It can also handle data that is aligned in an horizontal position. Now, members, I want us to do this thing manually and get to see practically. Let's do it practically and get to understand it better. Now, open that tab of three-way order matching, and we see how we can reconcile these three sets of data to get a response, whether the purchase orders are matching the three conditions or they are not. Now, one of the questions that you are asked is to prepare the three-way order match, and then we determine how many purchase orders were included in the three records. So to start with, I want us to look at the invoices here. The question, or what we need to ask ourselves is, are all these invoices in the purchase orders? Are all the invoices in the purchase orders? And out of the invoices, were all these goods received? Were all these goods received in the invoices? So those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. And to reconcile the information, I want us to use the VLOOKUP function, which we've just talked about here. Now to use it, we can add some other columns here because we need to come up with some small table. Hold on your Control Shift with the plus key to just insert extra columns there. Then let's come up with just two columns. Let's come up with two columns so that we get to reconcile this information and see if it matches or not matching. So you can come up with two columns, and the range of the data of the two columns, before I even draw the column, let me just write there VLOOKUP. That is the function I want us to use. And we want to use two columns to reconcile invoices and the goods received, so that we ask ourselves, out of the invoices received, did we receive all those goods that relate to the invoices? Remember, this is what we pay using. You pay or you settle, you pay your suppliers from the invoice information. So you have to ask yourself, before I pay, did we receive all those goods from the goods received register? So you're just confirming, reconciling the two. So we want to marry or reconcile information from invoices, and we also want to do the same from the GRNs, the goods received register, or the goods received note. Goods received register or goods received note, like that. So from the goods received notes, we want to check and reconcile the two. Now, we have these two columns here, which I want us to reconcile and see. And we can insert a table, or we can just leave it hanging, though I still don't know to what extent will it go downwards, but I can just insert a table. Like that. And I want to say my table has titles, and that's okay. Then I go ahead and remove the branding and also remove the filters like that. The color has really no problem, and the design of the table is also just okay for me, like that. So let's match this information, and I want us to use the VLOOKUP. So let's go to the first. Let's go and reconcile the first purchase order. Let's go and reconcile the first purchase order. And maybe I may want to align these tables. I want to align the tables. How do I want to align them? I want this table so that the first row where we are having the first purchase order, let it align with the first entries we need to reconcile in the invoices and in the GRNs. We are reconciling purchase orders raised. Do we have invoices corresponding to the same? And do we have goods received not corresponding to the same purchase order? We are reconciling all the three using this two-column table. Somebody is asking, pardon the part. Okay. Jaden has gotten it. All right. How to remove the branding. Winnie, after you've inserted your table, you will see the table design tab. That table design tab will give you those options. There is a filter button here. So if you uncheck that box, you will see the filter goes. The branding, there is also a tab for that. You see branded rows, it is checked. If I uncheck it, the branding also goes away like that. So that is how you manipulate the table. You can as well go and check on the table designs, which is just beside it there. So the table design tab will give you all those options where you can remove or add the filter button and the branding. All right. Okay, so let's do the first one. Put an equal sign, And remember, we want to check if all the purchase orders have invoices corresponding to the same, and also they have the goods that were received, the goods received or not. Now, we are looking for, we are using VLOOKUP. So just type VLOOKUP. The function is already there. They give you a description. It looks for a value in the leftmost column of a table. Leftmost column of a table. And it returns a value in the same row from a column you specify. That is the same description that I gave. You tab to pick that formula. Now, lookup value, like we've just said, what are we looking for? We are looking for the first purchase order. So just go and click on the purchase order. We are looking at the purchase order, and we are picking on the purchase order number. Remember, we have to look up for a value that is common to all the three sets of data. Which sets of data am I talking about? I'm talking about purchase orders, I'm talking about invoices, and I'm talking about the goods received register. The unique identifier or the common data or the common function or the common entry that is available or that is unique to all the three is the purchase order number. We cannot use the dates. The purchase order number is in purchase orders. Invoices also have purchase order number. Then in the goods received note, there is also purchase order number. So that is the unique identifier that we are using in all the three sets of data. And it forms our lookup value. But with reference to purchase orders, we are tracing if this purchase order has an invoice and also the goods were received in respect to the same. Now, after putting in your lookup value in the first instance, now you go and put a comma like that. Then we go to table array. Look at the description, table array. We already talked about table array. Yes, so in the table array, we ask ourselves, where are we looking up this purchase order number? We are looking it up from the first table of invoices. We want to look at it from invoices. And being a unique identifier, we will come and we select on the array of purchase order numbers in the invoices table. So come to the invoices table, click on that title of purchase order number. And then, no, we are not picking from the title. These are purchase order numbers, so it is a common lookup value. We are picking on this range of data of the purchase order numbers. So once you click on the first purchase order number under invoices table, you can just hold on control and shift control, then down arrow to highlight the whole of that column. Hold on control and shift key, and then use the down arrow to highlight the whole column. That is the range of data. That is the table array where we are looking up. We are looking up the purchase order number in the purchase orders list. And any array function or any table array, you have to make sure you fully lock, because that is where we are looking out for this value or this purchase order that we are looking out for. So you fully lock using your F4 key. And when you use your F4 key, it will introduce $ on each column and row references for the whole table array. You fully lock it. Then we go for the next entry. You put another comma like that. When you put another comma, now it will ask you the column index. Column index simply asks you in which column is whatever you're looking out for appears. Look at the purchase orders. In which column? In which column does it appear? In which column does it appear? When you are looking at the syntax of the VLOOKUP function, I said that the column index number is the column number in the table array that contains the data that you want. Is the column number in the table array that contains the data that you want. Yes? So in our purchase orders, which column is whatever we are looking for? Where does it fall? And you will see it is column number 1. It is the first column. So you just use the numbers, the numbering of the column, just use column number 1. This is column 1. So just type in number 1 like that. Then if you put a comma, we are going to this other function, which was given in parentheses. And I had said that this only tells you whether you want an approximate match or an exact match. In most cases, we want the exact. We don't want approximation. Now, if it is exact, always exact match, you just type 0, or you can select it from here. Come to this, use your navigation key, the arrows, the down arrow and the up arrow, so that you pick on it. How do you pick? Double click or you tab, so that it will write false. Or if you don't want to tab it like that, you can just type 0. Just type 0 and you shall have told it that I want my exact match like that. Exact match. If it is false, let it be false. If it is true, let it be true. We don't have any middle ground. That formula, that function, you can either close it, close the bracket, or leave it hanging. It's okay. Then when I enter or use Control Enter, it already returns to me a function. It already returns to me the output. And it has done that for the whole table, because I inserted the table, so the function automatically picks. And even if it does not pick, even if it doesn't, you could still autofill. You could still autofill. So even if those ones did not come, there is really no problem. You don't have to worry about anything, because it will still autofill. It is the same way if you do it and it does not autofill in that table. That's why whenever you insert a table, Excel will assume that you want to follow through that trend. But if it doesn't, do not worry. Even if you just double click, it will always autofill to the end for you like that. It will autofill to the end for you like that. And it will only autofill to the extent that your table has gone. To the extent that your table has gone. I see some questions here. Somebody saying the concept of column index. Okay. Admin has got dates in return. Cynthia is also getting dates. Okay. Now, the mistake you've done is very simple. Okay. Now, let's do it together again. I want us to do it together again. I'm just undoing what I've done. I'm just undoing what I've done. And as I undo what I've done, people have dates in return. Uh-huh. All right. I see Elo is giving you some very simple response there. You see, maybe those cells that the range of cells where you want your invoices to be returned, maybe the format is showing that you are looking for tables. So you can check as well, I will borrow from there, you can check as well if the type of data that is formatted in that cell is showing you date. Make it number or make it general. In fact, it's better to make it general so that it does not have any specific format. Maybe it was formatted to give you a date. So you can check on that. But we can as well do it together. And I want to refer, there is a member who was asked about this. It's okay now. That's very good. That's very good. There is a member who asked about something. I wanted just to respond to that. There was a member I saw, table. Pardon, on the table. No, not that one. Column index. Okay. T was talking about column index. Column index. The column index. Okay. 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 So column index. I want us to look at it together. I want us to look at it together again in this VLOOKUP function. VLOOKUP function. If you look at the syntax, the first one is lookup value, which I believe we all now understand. This is the value you want to find. This is the value you want to find. Then the table array, I also believe no one has a problem with it. This is the range of cells that contain the data you want to search. So you ask yourself, which range of cells contains the data that I'm looking for? Then I'm going to now what the member is asking about the column index. I'm going to now to the column index. And I said, column index is the column number in the table array. The column number in the table array that contains the data that you want to return. Yes? What data are you looking for? What are you looking for? That is the question. So when we came to table array, what are we looking for? The column index number. What are we looking for? In this our data, in this our table array, in this our array of data, what are we looking for? Where does it fall? In which column? We are looking for purchase order. Purchase order number. We are looking for purchase order number. In which column does it fall? It falls in column 1. That's why we used number 1. It falls in column 1. So I will repeat the function. Admin is saying it's okay. Okay, yeah. I think that's a good response there. Now, for members who have dates, now I believe you have correct output, and I will now do mine because I had removed it. So there, I said, put an equal sign, VLOOKUP, and the function is there, I pick it. Now, the lookup value, what I'm looking out for is this purchase order number, the first one. Then I'm going to, and in most cases, remember, you do not have to lock the purchase order number column because when we autofill, it will move per purchase order number from the first to second to all the way. You can as well lock the column if you want, but it is not a must. Because even if you don't lock it, the trend will be continuous. Yes? Now, after I've picked on my lookup value, I ask myself now, what table array am I going for? Now, the table array, I want to look for purchase order number, purchase order, and where am I looking it out from? I'm looking it out from the invoices. So you go and select on the array of purchase order numbers under the invoices table. So I came here, I told you click on the first one, hold on your Control Shift, and then use down arrow to highlight the whole range of purchase order numbers that were invoiced. purchase orders that were invoiced. So I'm looking out of all the purchase orders raised. Did we receive invoices? That's why I'm looking it out from the invoices table. And any array function, any table array after you select, make sure you fully lock it so that when you autofill, it does not mess you up. It gives you the correct response. It only refers to that range that you selected. Then put a comma. What we are looking out for is in column number 1 in our purchase order table. So I just type 1 like that. Then when I put a comma, I said this other function here, the lookup range, the range lookup, you just put 0 or you select on the false so that it gives you exact match. So you can close the bracket or not close it, confirm, and then it will already autofill for the rest. If it doesn't, you can as well double click or double tap or hold and drag. It will autofill for all of them. Okay. Now, I want us to do the same for the goods received. Now, somebody do not worry about this not applicable. Not applicable simply mean we are looking for the purchase orders. You see this purchase order? Let me just, yes, I've activated that formula. Now, we are looking for this purchase order number 25015. So the not applicable response here, simply tells us or tells you that whatever the purchase order number we are looking out for, and we are looking out for it in this range of invoices, we did not receive. There is no invoice that is corresponding to this purchase order number. Let me put it like that. There is no invoice corresponding to that purchase order number. That's why it is saying it is not applicable. It is not applicable. That is simply what that response means. It is not applicable. Like that. It is not applicable. So I believe we understand that response when you get not applicable. It simply tells you, it's not there. It's not there from where you're looking it out from. It is not there. I believe you're okay. I believe we are okay, members. We move to the next bit where we are checking from the goods received register. I believe we're okay. So we check on the goods received register and we're using the same function. So if you didn't understand it well in the first place, now we do it together again in the second bit. So we come to the GRN column. What are we still doing? We are confirming if all the purchase orders were received. We've confirmed if the invoices were received on what was raised and as a purchase order. Now we are going to the next bit to ask ourselves, out of the purchase orders that were raised, did we receive those goods? We are reconciling. Did we receive those goods? Did we receive those goods? So that is what we are going to do. Somebody is saying, I have invoice. Hey, which invoice number is that now? Which invoice number is that now? Somebody saying, I have 25074 is in both, but not applicable. Somebody saying 25074 is in both, but it's not applicable. Okay, I did not extend my table to cover everything. I think let me just do it to cover the whole range of data like that. Okay. No, mine is there. You see, it is here. You cannot say it is not applicable. It is there. Mine is showing 25074 is a purchase order raised, and it has shown me that it is also there under invoices. So if yours is saying not applicable for this invoice, for this purchase order number, then maybe you check again. It is there. 25074 is there. So kindly check again for the member who was asking that. All right. Now let's do for this other one. Somebody saying my invoice numbers and purchase orders are the same. They are not the same. They are not the same. They are not the same. Check on the purchase order number 2. See, the purchase order number 2 is 25011, right? Check on the invoice number 2. It is 25014. Are they the same? They are not. Check on the purchase order number 3, 25012. Check on my invoice number 3, 25011. Are they the same? No. Check on this other one. Are they the same? They are not. So you see what happens here. You are looking for commonality. You are looking to check out. Because under normal circumstances, if there is no discrepancy, all the purchase orders raised should be invoiced. You should receive invoices for all the purchase orders. So ideally, you expect all the purchase order numbers to appear under invoices. That is what you expect. And that's what we are testing here. And we are realizing not all purchase orders raised have been invoiced. That is what we are realizing. And which ones are they? You can see that these purchase orders that were raised and the response is not applicable. All of these not applicables, they were purchase orders raised, but there were no invoices corresponding to them. So that is what we are really testing. But in ideal cases, they should all be there. They should all be there. All purchase orders should receive invoices, and all invoices should correspond to all goods that were received. So that whatever you are paying as from an invoice, all those goods have been received. That is the ideal situation. That is the ideal situation. AC, yours is giving dates because you've not checked on the format. Under formats, click on that cell and go to format. You'll realize that here it is showing date. It is showing you date. Check, make sure that you format it to show you general with no specific format. Edit there to show you general with no specific format, or you can choose number because all the outputs should be numbers, but general is better because where there is no response, you are getting this not applicable. But even if you choose number, it's still okay because the correct responses should be in number form. All right, let's do the second bit to check if all the purchase orders were received in the GRN register. Juma is writing on our screen. Juma is writing on our screen. Juma, check on your device. Now, let's see on the GRN if all the purchase orders raised goods were received on the same. And we're using the same VLOOKUP function. I will put an equal sign, VLOOKUP, then I tab to pick it. Now, the first is the lookup value. Lookup value remains the same. What are we looking out for? We are tracing the purchase orders. And where are we tracing them from? We are tracing purchase orders that were raised. And we are asking ourselves, if I put a comma, we're asking ourselves, now, these purchase orders, did we receive all those goods? So that tells us to takes us to the table array. Where are we looking out for this, our purchase order? We've already told Excel that we are looking for, our lookup value is the purchase order. I've clicked on the cell where we have the purchase order number 1. Then I'm going to the table where I'm looking out for that purchase order. So I'm going to the table of goods received not. And the unique identifier is the purchase order number here. So I'm asking myself, these purchase orders, do we have them as in the goods received register? So I will click on the first one, then I highlight the whole array so that Excel can check through all of them to identify if I'm able to get this purchase order number in the goods received register. So I'm simply telling Excel, please check the whole range. Check anywhere. It must not be in the first row. It must not be in the second row, but it can be anywhere in the data set. So check across and tell me, give me a response if you get it or you don't get it. We raised that IPO, that LPO. Check to us in the goods received if that LPO that was raised, goods was applied, and that goods received register has it. So I'm holding on my Control Shift, using down arrow to highlight the whole range, and I'm locking that array. Make sure that you fully lock the table array because that is a reference area. You are specifying that reference area. I'm locking it using my F4 key like that. Then when you put a comma, it will ask you about the column index number. And you ask yourself, out of what I'm looking out for, I'm looking out for the purchase order number. Yes? In which column is it appearing in my table array, the table that has my original data? This is the reference point, remember? Purchase orders is the starting point. So I'm looking out for the purchase order number. And you can see purchase order number is here in my table array. So in which column does it appear? It is appearing in my first column, in the reference table. So just put number 1. Then I told you in the range lookup, you can put a comma and choose the range lookup, or you can simply type 0. Either choose the true or the false. True to stand for approximate, false is exact. We normally need exact. So even if I type 0, 0 simply will denote an exact match. Then you can close the bracket or leave it open. It will give you a response. So if I confirm, you'll see that I already have my table auto-populated. If yours is not auto-populated, do not worry. You can just double tap at the lower bottom right corner of that active cell, or you can hold and drag. But if the data is large, you cannot holding and dragging is not very recommended. Just double tap and it will autofill to the end. So you can see the responses of not applicable. Not applicable here also simply tells you, you see these purchase orders that is showing you not applicable. Simply means all these purchase orders, goods were not received corresponding to those numbers, those purchase order numbers. They've not appeared in this goods received register. So you can already know that, yes, we raised these LPOs, these purchase orders, but we did not receive those goods. That's what we mean by reconciling. We did not receive these goods. It has already told us that they are not in the GRN. The goods received not. They are not there. But the others where we have the responses, it means we raised this LPO, this order, and the goods were received. That's why their record is also appearing in the goods received register or in the goods received note. Now, we've already used our VLOOKUP function to trace all invoices, purchase orders, numbers in the invoices table, and also in the goods received register. Now, we want to reconcile and bring together all these findings so that we ask ourselves, now, this purchase order, let's assume number 1, can we get this purchase order in the invoices and also in the goods received register? We want a response here. Is it appearing in all the 3? That is the 3-way order matching. Does it match in the three tables, in the 3 sets of data? If it is matching, we say yes, it is matching. If it is not matching all of them, we say no or false. That means there is a problem with that purchase order. It does not match in all the 3 sets of data. That's what we are testing here. That is what we are testing here. Yes, HP, index and match still works perfectly. Index and match still works perfectly. So you can as well go and use it. We are just starting from the basic VLOOKUP function. And I'm wondering why you are saying your Excel do not have VLOOKUP. If you have index and match, in fact, the basic Excel normally has VLOOKUP. It might miss or might not have XLOOKUP, but VLOOKUP really is a common functionality, even in the basic models, basic versions of the Excel. But it is good you are able to use an alternative tool to get the same response. Now, let's match all these 3 sets of data to say whether it is all matching the conditions or it is not matching. To do that, I would want us to create or add another column, and the column we are adding is on the purchase orders. Remember, this is our reference table. This is the starting point. We are confirming if what we have here is also found in the invoices and in the GRN. So I want us to introduce a column where we are doing the final tests. And we are saying, do we have the 3 orders matching? So we can just confirm here that we have the 3 orders to match. 3 order match. We are confirming. This is a confirmation column. We are confirming that we have the 3 orders matching. The purchase order here, it is matching in invoice and it is matching in the GRN. That's what we need to confirm from this column here. And I want you to be keen because this is now, everyone may use the VLOOKUP and get the correct output, but reconciling these 2 informations with the original data, this is where somebody might face a challenge. Yes, so let's all do it here together and see how do we get that matching done. So we go to the first purchase order number in the first row. Now, we want to use conditional formatting. We want to use conditional formatting. And the conditional formatting that we want to use is we want to combine the if function and also the end function, if and the end function. Remember, we are using two sets of outputs. We already have VLOOKUP outputs for invoices, and we have VLOOKUP outputs for GRN. So we want to combine the two. So we have to use AND for the two sets of data. So put an equal sign. Put an equal sign. Now, our interest is to make sure or to confirm that they are matching. But what if they are not matching? What will happen? What if they are not matching? But we have to start from the positive side. We have to start from the positive side because they should be matching. They should be matching. Yes? So if they should be matching, then we need to tell Excel what output or what response do you give us if they are not matching? What response are you giving us if they're not matching? Yes? And we don't want this not applicable. You see this not applicable response here. It should not come in our matching. This not applicable, we need to do away with it because this is a common error. You have errors like, for example, not applicable. We have value error, reference errors, and all that. We want a response that we define on our own. So we want to tell Excel, because we need it to match, but if it is not matching, please give us this kind of response. So the function that we want to use here is the if function, but not just if. We are going to use if error, if error. So equal, then you say if error. You see the if functions, there are four of them you can see in that my list or on my Excel. I hope yours are also showing you the options. We have the if, and it checks whether a condition is met and returns one value if true and another value if false. Yes? Now, we expect the outputs to match, but if they don't match, the appropriate function we are going to use is the if error. Look at the description of the if error. Returns value if error of if error if expression is an error and the value of the expression itself or otherwise. So we know that we expect them to match. But what if they do not match? We're using the if error function. I will pick it using tab. You can double tap or just use the tab. Now, look at the entries. There are only two entries there. Value and value if error. Those are the only things that we are supposed to get a return for. Now, under if error, remember we are using two sets of data. We have invoices output and we have GRN's output. We've looked them up to confirm the purchase orders appearing in them, and we already have a response. Now we want to merge these two informations. So to merge them, that's where another function comes in. We are joining the if error function. Yes, we will give a response if the value is error. You see this? If error, we will give it a response so that it tells us if it is error, give us a response. But because we're using two sets of data or outputs that we already have, we are going to add the AND function, because we have two different arguments. You can see the description there. They are saying, checks whether all arguments are true and returns true if all arguments are true. Yes, it returns true if all arguments are true. We are combining two arguments here. Now, I will pick using my tab function. Now, we have the AND function. Now, under the AND function, it will ask you logical 1, logical 2. We are giving the conditions that we are working with. I hope we are moving together. I hope we are moving together. Now, at that point, we want to start by asking ourselves, what is the logical 1? What are we looking out for? I'm seeing somebody's already asking something here. AC has typed letter Y. iPhone I'm just talking about, we are using the if error function and the and function. We're using them together simultaneously. And the if error simply means we start by asking ourselves, what are we looking out for? We want to confirm that the three-way order matching condition has been met. That is what we expect. That is what we need to confirm if the three-way order matching is met, the condition is met. And the three-way order simply means the purchase order is matching with the invoice received and is matching with the goods that were received in the GRN. So we just need to confirm that they are matching. But what if they are not matching? That's why we've chosen on the if error. So if they are not matching, because they should be matching, if they're not matching, and again, we remember that we are using two outputs we already have. We have outputs on the invoices, we are confirming invoices and the GRN. Those are two different sets of data. So we have to combine the two data using the AND function. So after the if error, the first entry we are putting there is the AND function. Now, after the AND function, now we have to give the logics. What do we mean by the logics here? What do we mean by the logics here? The logic is, what are we matching with all this data? What is our reference point? What is our unique identifier? What is the original data that we are working with? And we are basing all our logics and reasonings from the purchase order number. This is what we need to confirm if it matches in the three sets. This is what we need to confirm if it will match in the three sets. And this table of purchase orders is our reference table. So we click on that first purchase order number in the purchase orders table array. And I said, you may need to lock the column, but it is not necessary. So I'm not locking anything on that cell, because if I fully lock it, it will not autofill for the other sets, for the other purchase order numbers that I'm looking out for. I will put a comma there. Then I will go to logical 2 there. Logical 2. This is the first condition. This is what I'm looking out for. This is what I need to confirm. Now, how am I confirming it? That is now the second function we are looking out for. How am I confirming it? Now, you have two ways. You have two ways. Already, we have outputs for the VLOOKUP under invoices and under the goods received note. But all these things that we've done, we can still do them in this one row, in this one cell. We can do all these functions, the VLOOKUP functions we had used, we can use them. Or somebody might now go and just refer to the outputs that we already have. But there is really no harm. This may act as a basis of confirmation of what we are using, this if error and the AND functions to confirm the conditions we are working with. So we can still do all of them in one cell. But now we want to avoid this response of not applicable. You see this response here? That's why I don't want to refer to this output, because it will give us a response of not applicable or an error. It will give an error return because of this. I don't want this not applicable. We need to define. That's why we said if error. Remember, the if error function will ask you for a value if error. Yes, if there is an error, it will not give you not applicable. You'll give it a value. So logical 2, the logical 2 that you're working with, you've already referred to what we are looking out for. Now, in logical 2, that's where we are going to the VLOOKUP function that gave us these outputs, the VLOOKUP. So I want to combine by putting the VLOOKUP function. I will put an equal sign, then I also insert my VLOOKUP function. We are repeating what we've done here. But now we want a more defined response, and we combine everything in one cell. So in an exam, ideally, in case you meet this, you do not have to do the first table that we did. This one we just did, and we will compare with what we are getting here to see if it is the same response and it is corresponding to what we already have. So the VLOOKUP function there, the entries remain the same. Lookup value, we already identified it. What are we looking out for? This is the value we are looking out for. So I will simply go and refer to it again. Put a comma and it will still ask you the same table array. Where are we looking out for this purchase order number? It is the same. We are looking out for the purchase order number we start from invoices. Control Shift down arrow, and then make sure that that array, you fully lock it using your F4 key, like that. Put a comma, and then the column index number, we had said what we're looking out for is in column 1. So I just put 1. Then I follow it with a 0, or you can choose on this false using your arrow key and the tab, or you double tap on the highlighted. We need an exact match. That closes the first table of invoices. That closes the first table of invoices. I'm seeing some questions here. Cynthia is asking, I repeat from the AND function. Now, Cynthia, once you put in your AND function, you start the entries by logical 1. Start the entries by logical 1. Logical 1 is simply asking you, remember, under if error simply means you are confirming that they should be correct. But if they are not, you are giving a defined response. So if error, and the AND function, this AND function means we are working with the two sets of table arrays. We want to bring them, we are merging them together. So under the logical 1, refer to the purchase order number under the purchase orders table. That is the cell B13. You see cell B13? This is the first purchase order number. And then this purchase order number, now we want to see where are we looking it out from. We are looking it out from the invoices table and the GRN table. Now, this is where I started by putting in an equal VLOOKUP function. Now, this is the same function we had used before. So that's why I have gone a bit faster in using the VLOOKUP entries, because I just believe you now understand it now that we had already done the same. The same entries, VLOOKUP, then you put the lookup value, which is the first purchase order number. Then you identify the table array, and of course, we are referring to the invoices to check out for that purchase order number. So highlight all the purchase order numbers under invoices table and make sure you fully lock it. Then when you come to the column index number, whatever you're looking out for is appearing in column 1 in our reference table. So just type number 1. Then 0 simply means exact match. You can type 0, or I said you can go and pick on this false. False simply means exact match. You can use your arrow key to go and pick on that false. So if you pick on false, you will still get the same response. Meaning we are looking for exact match. But even if you type 0, it will still give you the exact match response. Then what do we do after that? We've referred to the invoices table. We go to the next table. So I will close this one. Now, we are checking out. We are confirming. But it will give us a response if error. If all these conditions will be error, it will not work. Then what response we are going to define to give us a value if error. Now, we've referred to the first table. Remember, we are using the AND function, right? This is the AND function. We've given the first logical reasoning in the first table. So we go to the second bit. How do we do the second bit? Just go and put a comma. That's why we are using the AND. So logical 2 is closed at that point. You see logical 2? Logical 2 is closed. We are going to logical 3. And logical 3, we are still referring to the same VLOOKUP function. We are looking out for what? Purchase order number. So I will still refer to that purchase order number 1. Then, where are we looking it out from? We are using the VLOOKUP function again to look it out from the table of goods received register. So once I put the VLOOKUP, the entries remain the same. The entries remain the same. Lookup value is still the same value of purchase order. That is what we are tracing to check. The same way we did from invoices, we are looking it out again from the goods received register. We are done that entry here. We're just following the same. The only difference is we are now doing everything in one cell. That is the only difference. But VLOOKUP, we used it here, the same entries we did. Under the lookup value, we selected on that purchase order number. Then we went to the table array, and now, because we are on this other table, now you come and check on the purchase orders under goods received register. I will click on the first one, use my Control Shift down arrow to highlight the whole purchase order numbers, then make sure you fully lock using a for key like that. Table array, fully lock it. Where are we looking out for this purchase order number? It is in this other goods received register, and the array, you just highlight the purchase orders, all of them, then you fully lock. Then I put a comma and it is asking me the column index number. Column index number still remains the same. Look at our reference table. The purchase orders we are looking for is in column 1. So just type in number 1 again. Then comma, in that case, you just say 0 for exact match. Then you close that bracket. Remember, we are using how many functionalities here? There is if error and there is the AND function. This AND function is combining these outputs for VLOOKUP under invoices and VLOOKUP under the GRN. That is the essence of bringing on board the AND function. That is the essence of it. So that Excel knows you are looking for outputs from two different tables. That is the AND function. Now, we want to go back to now the if error. If error now should combine everything we will get from this output. Now, the if error function now is what we are going to. How many brackets do we have? Now you see there is this, I don't know whether this is red or orange. So we have already opened 2 brackets. We've closed one. So let's close the other one. I've closed the second one. So I've closed the brackets all the way from here. You see, from the AND function, have closed all these brackets up to that point. Now let's go back to AND function. What if these lookups that we've done here, all this that we are looking out for, what if the response is false? Meaning we are not able to trace these purchase orders from both the 2 lists. If we are not able to trace them, what response are we telling Excel to give us? Value if error. That is the if error function now. Now we are telling Excel that put a comma. Value if error, you can see it is now highlighted in bold because this is the entry they expect us to give. If you don't get these purchase orders from the 2 lists, now return to us a value of saying it is false. So tell us that it is false. Let me just type it in capital. It is false. That is what we are telling Excel to return to us. Value if error, let it give a response of false. And now we are closing the if error function. You can either close or leave it open. That final bracket has no problem. So we've told Excel that please look out for all this using the VLOOKUP function. And because we are looking out from 2 different tables, that's why we use the AND function, Now, if error, please tell us it is false. That all these entries are in one cell. All this is in one cell. Now, if I confirm, you will see it should be able to give us a response. I don't know why I'm getting an error. Let me see again if there is a bracket that I've not closed well. I want to see I locked all the table arrays. Then the AND, I started by the logical 1, and my logical 1s should be the same like that. Okay. Somebody is saying something. 2 brackets after the last bracket. I don't think we really need to put 2, but let me see. You can see there is still a problem. So it is not about 2. No. It is not about 2 brackets. So the last bracket.
Remove the equal signs before the lookup.
Even with the equal signs, I should still get. If you remove the equal signs, then now this is not a function. Any Excel function must start with an equal sign. Let me just remove
the comma after B13.
Let me just first do this one so that the member can see. If I remove equal sign, that is not a function, and I want you to see it is still a problem. So those functions have to start with equal. The equals have to be there. The equals have to be there. Yes?
Mine have used without the equals.
Yeah, this
You've
one
And
used
I've
is
without
compared with
equals.
the other one I used, but it has given me the answers without the equal sign.
Without the equal signs.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
just put the comma.
So you just put, oh, you used the comma. The comma alone is enough, huh?
Yes.
But there is an entry which I need to check out for here.
Or you can remove the comma after
Sorry?
the B13.
The B13.
Yeah, remove the comma.
So let me see. But I don't really think that should be a problem. After the B13, let me see.
The first B13. The first B13.
Only the first one?
No,
Yes.
mwalimu, the next VLOOKUP hufai kuweka equal sign.
People now have so many
Inafaa
different
tu,
You know,
opinions.
we are looking
Members,
if B13 equals to the PO number for purchase order equals the VLOOKUP, the PO number in invoice number.
So,
So
repeat. Let's start afresh.
no, I will not buy into all those
toa
opinions
hii B13.
because now everyone is giving a different one. I want to follow my formula
Yeah,
from the
unafaa
first.
toa hii B13.
No, let me look at my formula from the first entry. We started with if error. Then we are combining using the AND function. And I'm starting with the first logical. We are, our reference is the B13, which is the purchase order number. Then we are telling Excel that now we are looking out in two separate sets of data, and we are looking out using the VLOOKUP function. And in the VLOOKUP function, the first is the lookup value. Now, lookup value, under the VLOOKUP function, I have to put a comma. After the comma, and I'm seeing a lot of responses here. Okay, I will continue following it up here. Now, the table array, I fully locked the table array. Let me just refer to the table array. It is in the invoices table. Then the column index number is 1 with the range lookup there, which is 0. That should be okay. Range lookup, which is 0, is okay. Then we start again by the V13, the B13, which is logical 2, and in that logical 2 of B13, we are again using the VLOOKUP function. I know members have said some of them have not put the equal sign before the VLOOKUP, but there should really be no problem. So this reference point, this logical 2 reasoning, somebody saying we remove this B13 here, okay, so that it picks the initial one. Is that what you mean? So that it still uses the same logical one there. Okay, the logical reasoning is the reference to the same. Yes?
You can still use the B13 is equals to VLOOKUP, just don't use a comma after the B13.
Okay, it's still okay. So this was the B13. Where is it? Let me just refer to that cell like that. So I believe I've not interfered with my formula again. So I come to the B13, then equal to VLOOKUP. I put the entries there, and the entries is the lookup value, which is correct. Then the table array, we are in the table of goods received like that. Then we come to, I close the bracket after the column index, which is 1, close that bracket, and there you go. Is there an entry which I've not done well here? Help me check through. There are so many eyes on your end. How many B13s do we have? There is this first one, logical 1. There is this one for the VLOOKUP, which is okay. There is this for logical 2. Winnie is saying it's now okay.
Yes, it's
Okay,
okay.
I'm just confirming. Okay, so let's see, and it's okay now. Thank you. So with that, we should be able now to confirm the same for all the rest. What if the match is not, if it is not matching, the three sets of data are not matching, we should get a false response. So I will autofill by double tapping there, and I'm having all autofill to the end, and we can see we have false values now. I want us to check, for example, the truths, the first five true responses, and you'll see that they are all matching. And you can see from the first VLOOKUP table, under invoices, the purchase orders were there, and under GRNs, they were there. That's why all of these are true, meaning they are all matching. And these other ones where we had not applicables, you will see they are all false. And it is only true when both are matching in the three sets of data. But if one is matching and the other one is not, like now in this case, I want you to look at this case. You'll realize that in this case, however much, under the GRN, these goods were received. The goods were received for this purchase order number 25032. But it is still false because there was no invoice. It is still false because there is no invoice, despite having it appearing in the GRN. It is only true if all the three sets of data are matching. That is the essence of it. So I hope that everyone has had have the correct responses. And again, even this last one, instead of it appearing in one, the other one is not, then it is still a false response. I'm looking at the charts here. Lillian is saying we repeat.
Formula.
Yes.
Please highlight the formula. I see where mine went wrong.
Okay, so check. Let me just, I've activated the formula there. Are you able to see it? Just view through to see where maybe, because these formulas, especially the long ones like the one we've entered, any slight error, any slight mistake will always bring a problem. Like now, for the members who are not using the equal sign before VLOOKUP, and you are able to get the correct response, I'm still thinking of why you are getting the correct response. No, but you should still get it because you started by if error and there was an equal sign. And because we have a bigger bracket, we have two brackets here, I think your output is still okay. It's fine. I was wondering why you are getting the correct response without an equal sign. We should ideally start a function, but because we have two brackets, I now see the essence to still work out for you. So for the member who was asking, I think that was Martin.
And then
Are you okay
Malim,
now? Yes.
Malim,
Yes.
okay, why I did not use the equals? I was just following what we did with the other ones when we had worked out the invoices and the GRN and found the results. So I just came and replaced with the first
Okay.
with the function, yeah, the VLOOKUP, and then the comma, and then the function.
Okay. If you refer to what we had already worked on, then that's okay. That's okay. Thank you. Thank you. So I think that's all about it. But now let's look at what the examiner was asking. We have answered part of the question. Yes.
Malim, will you do that one of referral?
I will not encourage referring to what you've already, like in this case here, because once you've understood all the entry at this point, and you've already known the two sets of data we are referring to, you really don't have to go back because whatever entries you're doing are still the same. Whatever entries. In other words, even without you doing this table, you see this table here, it is not a must. This is not a must. This is just for you to confirm. This is just for you to confirm that whatever outputs you are getting in your matching will be matching, or maybe will be the same output as what you already got here. So I think if you already have understood how the VLOOKUP works here, and it is the same thing that was used here, you really don't have to worry much. Let me see, I'm seeing some chat here. iPhone is saying is giving true in some even with a not applicable on the side. That is interesting. iPhone, whenever you get a true figure, it simply means all the three sets of data are matching. So if you get a true and you realize one is not applicable, like now in this case, if you get a true at this point, then it means maybe there is a wrong entry in that your formula that you did. So for example, if I check here, why would you get a true if you've already told Excel that I'm checking on this, and if it is an error, please give me a false. And what am I checking? I'm checking it from the two sets of data, from the invoice and from the GRN. So I just wish that you check it again. Just check it again from the formula itself when you first set it. If there is maybe a reference that you did not do well, or if you had locked, please do not lock this lookup value. Do not lock the lookup value. You can only lock the column if you must, but it's not really necessary. So I would encourage you to check at that, check in that function again. You should get the correct output. Yes, BM is saying check if correctly locked table array. Correct. BM, I agree. There is something that the member has locked that is not working out well. Now, to respond or to answer part B, where we are told, determine how many purchase orders were included in all the three records. But before we even do that, we will ask ourselves, how many true outputs do we have, and how many orders are matching, and how many do not match? How many orders are matching, and how many do not match? So we can just simply do one. We are using which function are we using to get the number of true the orders that are matching? Which function are we using? Let's say we want the number of true responses and false responses. Which function are we using to confirm? Count if. All right. Count if function. Thank you. We are going to use the count if function so that we count on condition. Remember, this is counting on condition. So I will come here and say if, count if. So there are two. When do we use count ifs and when do we use count if alone? So count if alone without an S, it counts the number of cells within a range that meet the given condition. But when you add an S so that it is count ifs, it counts the number of cells specified by a given set of conditions. So you realize that the conditions now are more than one when you use count ifs. So we just need a count if, because our condition here is we're just counting those which are true. Now I will tab and we select on the range. Where are we counting them from? We are counting on the outputs. So Control Shift down arrow. Then remember, whenever we select on a range, make sure you fully lock that range like that. Make sure you fully lock the range. But at this point, as we count, there is really, even if you don't lock, I think you should get still an output. But any range of data, we should always lock it. Let me lock it first, then we can test the other one. If you put a comma, we are asked about the criteria. So which criteria are we using? What condition are we giving in the counting within this range? What condition are we giving? Please count, but whatever you want a response on, please only count the true values, the true responses. Only count the true responses and give us a feedback. So by that, if I confirm, it is telling us that the true responses are 14. The true responses are 14, like that. So I want to try if we do not lock. Let me see. Count if. If we do not lock, we say I want a range, and the range is here. Control Shift down arrow, and I'm not locking, I'm just putting a comma, and I say the criteria is true, like that. I should still get the same response because I'm not required to autofill anything. So I'm not at a risk of any of cells moving. So even if you don't lock at this point, we are simply counting like that, right? Now, how many purchase orders did we have? How many purchase orders did we have? We can also count the number of purchase orders that we had so that we get to see how many of them did we have, and we can always get even the numbers from all of them, count the number of invoices, the number of goods received notes and all that. So when you want to count the number of purchase orders, which function are we using here? This was a conditional counting. Here, we just want the number of purchase orders. Which function are we using to just give us the number of purchase orders? Which function are we using? We are using count. Thank you, Elo. We are using count. So I will say there equal to count, and then I pick it, and it is asking value 1, and then from value 2, it is in bracket. What are we counting? We are counting this range of data, and then, yes, from that range of data, Control Shift down arrow like that, and I confirm, and it gives us a response of 65. So we had 65 purchase orders. Out of the 65 purchase orders, 14 are matching. The rest are not matching. So that, if they want how many purchase orders were included in all the 3 sets of data, the response is this. This is what the examiner was looking out for. So 14 invoices were matching in all the 3 records. So that answers what the examiner wanted at this point. Only 14 were matching like that.
Excuse me.
So,
Excuse me.
yes, you can